I hope that you all are having a wonderful Wednesday. I wanted to do this video sort of in response to things that are going on in the news at the present moment. I know last week I, had this moment of humor with the whole Trump versus Cosby videos and why to make a case for doing the Cosby Show or bringing the Cosby Show back. But today I want to do something a bit more serious. So I don't think there's going to be any humor in any of it. Paying attention to what's happening on the news and the response of those of us who are citizens of this country. Now, those are those people who are not citizens of the U.S., they're coming here, they're working here, whatever. Not so much about them, but I mean those of us who this is our country. We are each other's brothers and sisters. This video is a challenge to us, and more so to my conservative friends. My conservative friends who consider themselves to be Christians. This is a challenge for us. And it's not, my attempt is not to be angry or to necessarily point fingers and say that white conservatives are these horrible people. That's not really my intention. And hopefully, if that comes across, that is not what I'm trying to do. But I'm saying that we have an obligation because, first of all, as conservatives, we sort of see ourselves as keepers of the faith. We're the ones who promote Christianity, and we have this clear Christian conscience, and we're moral and all of this great stuff. And in truth, I have to question that. If we really are the people that we claim to be as Christians and conservative, seeing the behavior of a lot of us conservatives and what's happening, and really the behavior that I'm talking about is called silence. It's easy for us to ridicule the other side and to talk about them and how they're rioting and all of that. And it's amazing that so many of my beautiful, wonderful conservative friends, and I'm not one of those people that's going to say, oh, really you're bigots and so forth. No, I think it's ignorance, and ignorance is dangerous. Sometimes it's a chosen ignorance, and sometimes it's just something that we are not aware of. I don't think everyone is bad, but I think there are a lot of bad things that are being done in the name of conservatism. And we're not saying anything about it. We can point out what Hillary supporters are doing, and we post them on our page, and we make them out to be these horrible people, and they're misguided individuals. And it's easy for us to point at them, but we forget about the three fingers that are pointing back at us. We're not saying anything, and I don't see enough of my conservative friends, and I challenge you to start speaking out about the evil that's happening from our side. Now, the propaganda that we've pushed forever and ever, that the Klan was born out of the Democratic Party, that's old. That's extremely old, and I wish we would stop using it, because while they may have been born out of the Democratic Party, they have not lived solely in the Democratic Party. The Klan, they're living in the conservative Republican Party. They are in the House. They are in the Senate. They are governors. They are mayors. They are police chiefs. These people are not just living in the Democratic Party. They may have been born there, but those Dixiecrats came over to the Republican Party. And so we have an obligation to speak out against the terrorization that's happening, or terrorizing of citizens of this country by other citizens. There's no need to talk about what's happening in the Middle East. There's no need to talk about what's happening in Syria and Iraq. Why? Why should I be concerned about the terrorist over there when you're not concerned, or we are not concerned about the terrorists right here in our own country who are terrorizing our children, who are terrorizing our young people in college, who are terrorizing our older people, who are terrorizing immigrants who have come to this country legally and have papers and are now citizens, and they're being terrorized by these hideous individuals. And not all of them belong to the Klan. Some of them are just normal citizens who have chosen to buy into the evil of hate. Why should I support Israel if you don't support the citizens in this country who are being treated in a very hostile manner? It's hypocrisy, And another area of hypocrisy that's really bothering me is last week, and I believe the week before, there were several white police officers who were gunned down. And no one posted Blue Lives Matter. No one cared about Blue Lives. Amazingly, I didn't see any post about Blue Lives, any hashtags about Blue Lives Matter. So it made me think that Blue Lives only matter if they're killed by Black people. There's a hypocrisy in that. Why don't Black lives or Blue Lives matter when the Blue Lives are taken by white citizens of this country? There's a problem with that. There's a hypocrisy. Now, I'm going to admit I am an all lives matter person. And the reason being is because I believe that Black lives matter. I believe that Hispanic lives matter. I believe that Jewish lives matter. I believe that our Native American lives matter, that these are individuals who are being terrorized in this country. And while the Black Lives Matter movement may be the one to the forefront, Black people are not the only people who are being unjustly gunned down in this country. We're not the only ones. And so for me, it's not about saying, oh, all lives matter because I'm just saying it out of some ritual. I think we have to start taking every single instance, every single murder by police, and a lot of them are. It's not a right to shoot these citizens. It's not a right for the police officer to be judge, jury, and executioner. It's not right. That is not what they signed up for. And the problem is we have a lot of people, a lot of men and women who are in law enforcement, and they should not be. That is a calling. It's just like we have a lot of people who are in the education system who should not be educators because they have no heart to teach students. They don't have a heart for that. It's not what they want to do. It's just something they do because they can't get a job anywhere else. And so they don't deserve or have a right to be a teacher. The same is with police officers. There are a lot of police officers who don't have a right to be in that uniform. There are police officers that are corrupt. Now, I know a lot of my wonderful conservative Black friends and white friends, whenever we see a young man or woman who's been gunned down, they've been shot, we go and we post their criminal records. You know, if they have a criminal record, that means they have served that time or they have done that time. And for us to continue to hold that over their head is very un-Christ-like. Where is forgiveness? Where is redemption? It's as if we want to vilify these people. And I have another problem with those of us who are Black conservatives. For some misguided reason, we have been lied to and made to feel that if we are a Black conservative, then we have to denounce being Black in order to be a conservative. You know, our white conservative friends, they don't stop being white. In fact, they push it to the front. Because I'm Black, I don't denounce being Black. I am still 100% Black, which in America, that pretty much means I'm of African descent and of any other kind of descent. It doesn't mean that I'm purely African. So I'm not going to deny any part of myself to be conservative. I'm still Black. I still am concerned about what happens in the community that resembles me. I don't have to give that up to be conservative. It just means my thinking and my way of life suits that of the conservative movement. I have more conservative opinions and ideologies and way of living. There are certain things that I hold fast to, but I don't cease to be Black because I'm a conservative. And so we should not go on this tangent with our white friends and start demeaning and degrading our community when we find ourselves in the news. I'm not going to start posting things about a young man who's been shot and bring up his past history because that's a reflection of who I am. That's my community. You may feel that you can distance yourself from that community, but we cannot. Hispanic people cannot distance themselves from the Hispanic community because they become rich or something. They're still Hispanic. White people are still white people. We all are still, and we can say this thing that, oh, God doesn't see color. That's a lie. Please, let's stop it. God sees color. Otherwise, he would have made us all pasty gray. And if we don't see color, all the individuals who say, I don't see color, you are lying. Why are you attracted to tall, dark, and handsome? Why are you attracted to pale, blonde, and blue eyes? Come on, seriously, we see color, but our seeing color should not dictate to what we see as perfect. or what's right. When we look at an individual, it's not their color. We may enjoy that beautiful chocolate. We may enjoy that wonderful milky white skin, whatever it is that your preference may be, your olive skin. You can have that preference. You see color. That's why you are attracted to the opposite sex, because there are things about them. You like their curly hair. We like different things, and it's based upon those things that we claim that we don't see. We see those things. God gave us eyes to see those things. He gave us those natural attractions, but those attractions should not dictate to us what is good, what is perfect. I don't look at a white person and say, oh, this white person is good because they're white. No. Neither should I look at a black person who's been gunned down and say, oh, they deserved it. Conservatives, we must do better. We must do better. And it's not just conservatives, it's across the board. But I speak to those who I relate to. As a conservative, I speak to conservatives. We believe that we are the holders of the moral high ground. Then we must do that. There's a passage of scripture that is often misquoted, misunderstood in my belief. I feel it's misquoted and misinterpreted. And that is the passage of scripture where Jesus talks, or Jesus is writing on the ground, because the religious leaders have brought to him a woman supposedly caught in the act of adultery. I don't believe that Jesus is saying, as we put it, oh, when a person falls into sexual sins, oh, he who is without sin cast the first stone. I believe that this was a moment of justice, that Jesus was dealing with justice and calling out injustice, because he understood that they were lying. That was a sin. They were lying. They were showing preference. That was another sin. Because if this woman was caught in the act of adultery, in order to be caught, doesn't it take two people to commit adultery? So either they were lying, they were showing preference, they were committing sins in that moment. And I don't think it really matters to us what he wrote. But it's the authority with which he said that phrase to those religious leaders. And I believe that they knew in their heart at that moment that Jesus was calling out their sins that they were living in, their sins of injustice. And conservatives, if we really believe in being conservative, the greatest conservative that ever walked the face of this earth was the most compassionate man to ever walk the face of this earth, Jesus Christ. He was a keeper of the law. He never diminished from the law. He never walked away from the law. He kept the law. He fulfilled the law. He showed us how to live out the law. And yet he was the most compassionate individual to ever walk the face of this earth. If we, as conservatives, believe that we are the keepers of morality and of faith and of Christendom, then we need to be the most compassionate. We need to stop posting these fake stories. We need to stop posting these fake memes that are only inciting hatred. We need to stop promoting hatred, and we need to start speaking out against the hatred that is taking place. And if you are asleep and you only see what Hillary's people are doing, and this is just talking about that specific thing, what's happening right now, but period. If you can only talk about Blue Lives Matter, but you never see the injustice when a police officer murders a citizen of this country, whether black, Hispanic, white, Asian, no matter what it is, if you can't see that, if you don't have a problem, my dear conservative friends, with these people who are terrorizing our kids in the school and writing nigger on the wall and we're sending you back, and you don't have a problem with any of that, there's something wrong with your faith. There's something wrong with your faith. You're not a Christian. So I make this challenge to us to search our hearts. And really, why aren't we concerned when we hear about another young man, a young woman being gunned down by the police? That's a soul that went into eternity. It's not something for us to rejoice and say that's another thug taken off the street. That's another menace to society taken off the street. That's another soul who went off into eternity. And where's our concern about those souls? We should be also concerned when we hear about young people killing each other, when we hear about murders happening in our communities, when we hear about rapes and all of these horrible sins and crimes happening in our communities. Those things should move us Christians, us conservatives, just as much as this whole political rhetoric has moved us. Let's stop hating each other because one person voted for Trump and another person voted for Hillary and another person voted. We are American citizens belonging to the greatest country on this earth. We have to come together as citizens of this country, and we must learn to live together. We can have our opposing political views and we can debate them and we can discuss them. But at the end of the day, we must remember that we are Christians. We are God's children, and we are citizens of this country. We don't need Donald Trump to make this country great. In fact, he can never make this country great again. Neither can Hillary. It's the citizens of this country who will make this country great. This country has remained great for many years because of the citizens who evolve, who see our errors, and we change from those errors. It's when we see our nastiness and we change from that nastiness to become better citizens that this country becomes great and greater. And so I make the challenge to all of my conservative friends and my liberal friends as well. Let's stop posting hate. And let's find a way to have conversations, real conversation. Let's not shy away from what's happening, but let's talk about it. Let's see both sides. And let's really denounce the evil that's happening with the Klan, these white supremacists, these white nationalists. Let's speak out against it. Let's not be ashamed to talk about it. Let's not be ashamed to call it what it is, evil. Hey guys, I love you. Have a great Wednesday. And let's make this country great. Let's continue to make this country great because we are the citizens of this country, and it's great because we are here. Love you all. Take care. Have a wonderful and a blessed Wednesday.